found, look what I've got.
No, but I've got two. No,
I know.
I've got one.
But I'm not going to tell you where mine is at the moment.
Oh. Ooh. You know, we talk about so many things on our show, don't we? But this is a very interesting discussion we're going to have today. And it's all about sexual health, both mental and physical. And the wonderful Soum Rakshit from Mystery Vibe. Hi, Soum.
Hi, Soum.
Hi, everyone.
Soum, tell us all. We've just received these amazing packages in the post.
Oh, I'm so glad you got it already. This is great news.
Thank you. And we're very excited to learn all about them. And we want to talk to you about the inspiration behind your amazing company and all the aspects of the benefits for women, and I'm sure men as well. But I think it's sexual health and the amazing sort of research that you've done. So do tell us about it, Soum.
Sure. First of all, thank you so much for having me. I love any opportunity to talk about these things because conversation is the key to getting sexual health fixed or restarted, which is often what happens after major life events, whether a childbirth, a menopause, aging on the male side, surgery like after colorectal or prostate cancer, or even simple things like diabetes, heart disease, which inevitably happens with most people. But all of that leads to often significant sexual health issues. And without talking about it, the solution is too far away. Even if solutions exist, people don't talk about it. They don't go to an expert. They don't learn from research. And so often we find people struggling for years and years before doing something. So I'm really glad that here is an opportunity to talk about things. And today I'd like to focus, like the devices you got, on dryness and arousal, because we work on various topics, from pelvic pain to prostate cancer, all kinds of things. But I think for your audience, the main areas they'd be looking for is around menopause, dryness, arousal, just improving sexual function. So what we do is very simple. We deliver very specific frequency vibrations around 100 hertz, which is clinically proven to improve blood flow. And that, as a very simple example, could be around back pain. And when you go to a chiropractor or physio, they will often use a device like a Theragun. And all it's doing is delivering specific frequencies on the painful areas. So the same principle applies anywhere. So pelvic pain after childbirth, penetration pain, vulvar pain, vulvodynia, whatever it is, generally is improved through the application of the right vibration frequencies. So what we do, and what you will see in the devices, is we make them very malleable. And that's the key to making sure that the vibrations are delivered at precisely the right points where it would be most effective. And whether it's the clinician or the user themselves, whoever it is using it will know simply by bending it and trying it on various points, which they find most comfortable, which they might find most effective. And that is what makes our devices so useful. So all of our devices, which are in the market, have gone through clinical trials and they have published papers. So the most successful clinical trial we've had is on pelvic and penetration pain. We're using the device 3 times a week for 12 weeks, showed a 5x improvement. And the reason why it's so significant is the improvement was big enough to not have pain anymore after the 12 weeks, and which means it's a change in quality of life. So that's our most significant study. We run a lot of studies. We have run studies on ED. We're currently running studies on ejaculation after spinal injury. We're running studies on recovering after chemotherapy and dryness post breast cancer. We're running studies on male pelvic floor therapy, very rare topic that people talk about. We're running studies on vulvodynia with baths in Whitechapel. So lots and lots of studies are constantly running because these things take years. So typically 2 to 3 years from the day we start to the day it's published.
It's really interesting. It's really interesting that this is done, that you're doing it in this way, which is, I think people have a very preconceived idea, and especially because they're called toys, because they're not, it's not really a toy. It's more of it's a device to help you get going again. And I think, especially, I mean, I don't know if everybody's the same, but I'm sure a lot of women feel the same, that you do get to a point where you kind of lose your confidence having sex. I mean, you really do, because it starts to hurt, because you don't have all the right things, and then you just kind of walk away from it. And I think that this is just such a great way to say to yourself, and I'm definitely going to say it to my children as they get older, you know, you've got to start doing this really early on so you don't ever get out of practice. Just so, because it helps every part of your body. You know, the minute I'm sure that you're stimulated sexually, it kickstarts a lot of other things in your body. So you know, you feel much better. I mean, all of the dryness is not just, you know, in your vagina, it's all over. So it would be nice just to feel back to normal again.
Yes.
And a really important point of what you made is orgasms and intercourse are clinically proven to create the hormones that help with improved immunity, improved sleep, improved skin, and many other things generally at wider health level. Which is completely undisputed, and it is evidence that has been published for years. So there are so many more benefits alongside improving your intimacy, improving your relationship. There's so many medical benefits that it's something that should absolutely be part of you know, your weekly routine. Just like, you know, going to a gym to exercise, or going for a walk, or going for a run. You know, all of these things people just assume that they'll do every week. But there isn't enough conversation to say why intercourse and orgasms are fundamental for improved health.
I think that's fantastic, Soum, because as a convent girl, you know, I always have a problem talking about sex, but, you know, and I think it's really great that we're having this discussion, because I think, you know, I think we all know that it's good for our health, but it's something we kind of brush under the carpet. And I was talking to Sam actually, and Sam, you've been doing a lot of, you know, so tell Soum about what you've been doing.
Okay. So hi, so lovely to meet you. Thank you for my gift. So yes, I'm a physically disabled woman, and I think I talk a lot with other disabled people, particularly when they have a physical disability, because we're often infantilized, we're often seen as asexual. You know, all of a sudden, just because you're disabled, you're seen as not being sexually active or have a sex drive. And of course, that is absolutely false. You know, but also, you know, for me, I talk a lot about sexual violence and sexual, you know, confidence. Before the pandemic, I was sexually assaulted. 2 out of 3 disabled women are assaulted either by caregivers or people that they know, because they are in a vulnerable space. And I think for me, you know, I'm personally on a journey reconnecting with my own confidence, as you said, about, you know, my body. And it's really strange because, you know, that one incident has completely made me see exploring my own body and sex as the enemy, if you will. So I've got this internalized ableism from my disability and being told that you shouldn't be having sex because you're disabled or no one will see you as desirable, to then having this really kind of profound life-changing experience. So, you know, for me, I'm an advocate of, you know, kind of talking openly about things that are seen as taboo, or things that we don't necessarily want to talk about in society. So it's really great that I'm here today to be able to talk quite openly with you all, you know. And I'm actually, what's actually quite nice, because sex can be quite painful for me because I am petite stature. So it's quite nice. I can't wait to kind of get stuck in and see what this product has to offer. But on real terms, I think getting to know your body doesn't just help on a holistic sense, medical sense. It's also just connecting with your likes and your dislikes and what your boundaries are and what you feel comfortable with. So I think we should absolutely be celebrating initiatives and innovation around sex much more. So thank you for the work that you do.
There's so many amazing points. A quick thing I would say is a big part of the user feedback we collect is to do with how to improve the experience. And I'll talk about two very simple things for people who have various kinds of issues, especially abled, and the issues could be dexterity. So you'll see this product. And you wouldn't know, but when we started, we were trying to make things look pretty, which obviously, all designers do. And the buttons were almost invisible and, and they look pretty, but not all users benefited from it. So what you'll see here is they are big buttons, which you can easily click. And now we have put that in every other device as well. And little things which designers often don't think about because often prettiness takes precedence. We then gather as we speak to more customers. Then the second thing we did was when we first started, we had wireless charging, and the number of users who struggled with it, because you have a charger and you have the device and you have to place it and it has to be in the right alignment and it's all kinds of issues. Technologically, it was advanced, but from a user perspective, it wasn't. So we simplified it. And also, if you lose the charger, then you have to contact us, or we have to send you a new one. It's all kinds of hassle. So we realized that everybody uses USB. So we just made it USB, but we kept the waterproof. So it's waterproof with the seal inside. So we kept the waterproof, but after that, all the users were so happy. So it's these little things that we learn as we go along, and how do you make things more accessible to people for, various reasons. So that's a really good point. And the other point is about desires. And one of the things we come across a lot is our users saying, how do I talk about desires with our partner, especially who has not had that conversation for years? And it's not that easy, primarily for fear of rejection. And the thing that we researched and that we recommend now is find an article in a newspaper you trust. So let's say, if you trust Guardian, BBC, Times, whatever, you find an article, and it could be something quite significant or dramatic in terms of maybe threesome. Yeah, it's not something that anyone would want to openly talk about in the fear of rejection. But if you find an article about it in the BBC and you share it with your partner and say, hey, this is interesting, not say whether you like it or not, it's a very easy way to figure out where your partner stands on that. And that applies to any desire. And you'd always find some article. And even if you don't find it here, you might find it in New York Times or CNN or somewhere. And it's such a easy, risk-free way. Because what we don't tell people is just sit over dinner and talk about things that, you are not sure about, because that might come back with, oh, that's horrible. And that totally ruins the...
It's good for your mental health too, isn't it, Soum?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So there is so much research which shows that, again, going back to orgasms and the hormones it releases, that it helps recovering from depression. And the issue is antidepressants suppress your desires, so you don't want to have an orgasm. So it ends up being a spiral loop. So to overcome that, and there's so much research on it, is if you have orgasms, it will release the hormones you need to improve your mental health.
Natalie, what were you going to say?
I was just saying there's so much psychology involved with it, and obviously with the designing of your products, an awful lot of it has to do, and a couple of you have mentioned fear. Something can happen which can make you awkward, afraid, embarrassed, where you never used to be. It could be anything. It could be an incident like you were talking about, Sam, that just completely changes the way you think. And now there's an awful lot of psychological stuff, and maybe talk therapy is the way to get through that. But we change, don't we, from each decade. And then, like you said, when people reach the menopause, physiologically you change, and sort of getting over that creates fear. in your
Yeah.
and you know, so yeah,
there's so much. That's why I always think of it as it's a 50-50 thing for us. Is half the work is the research, the development, the devices, but the other half is getting people the information and knowledge they need. Like every year we go to NAMS, so North American Menopause Society is the biggest conference in menopause, and we have our booth, we stand there, we talk to all kinds of people, doctors, clinicians, patients, everyone. And often what we find is even something as simple as a lube. A lot of women will say, and I'm talking about women in their 50s, 60s, 70s, will say, oh, I know about lube, but I thought that is for, you know, like 50 Shades of Grey, like kinky sex. And that's the separation. Like you said, you know, like a lot of expectation is a toy is silly and fun, not that it's a medical product. So a lube is an FDA, in US, it's always FDA, you have to be, and it's made by massive manufacturers like Rakshit, who makes Durex, they make KY jelly. Like we're talking about multi-billion-dollar companies. These are big corporates with lots of compliance, regulatory approvals. So it's done very properly. So if you trust a condom, you should trust a lube, basically. And the thing is, when they realize that, is this information isn't just there. When they realize that this is a medical product, this goes through FDA, this is made by big companies who are very regulated, then, and it's only, we're talking about £10, $10, right? Very low cost. And it can significantly change the quality of life.
I find very interesting about the menopause, if you like, when people talk about the menopause, it's as though a lot of people think that, oh, I'm through it now, so it doesn't apply to me anymore. And I think that's where, in a way, it's being, if you like, talked about wrongly, because once you reach the menopause, that's it for the rest of your life. It isn't just a few years.
Correct, absolutely. And it's one of those things where because of the pause or, you know, stop, what it means is the hormones, they're not ever going to come back to naturally to the state it was pre-menopause. So something like lubrication is what you need forever. Lubrication, vibration, which is, you know, pretty much the same thing, but we always recommend both to make your experience even better. So all it is doing is having some external help to improve the arousal, the blood flow, the lubrication, which might have happened naturally, you know, 20 years ago. But in most cases, women still need that, even pre-menopause, need external stimulation. A lot of our ED users, people with erection difficulties, they say that their partners, and they don't need to be, you know, in their, they could be in their 20s, 30s, their partners need external stimulation to have arousal and orgasms. So they
That's
use
because the men don't know what to do, darling, these days. That's the problem.
That's part of the problem, but every little helps. So
yeah, every little helps.
So them having that is an extra bonus to improve their sex life. And also what we found, and psychology is so relevant here, is often men don't want to introduce a device which says, oh, you know, this is because I have a problem. No one really wants to say that.
Yes.
But if they say, this is a device which is, I bought this because it will give you amazing pleasure, amazing orgasm, amazing stimulation, I'm going to wear it so you don't have to do anything and you will just feel it. So it's a very different talking point, very different way to introduce it into the bedroom. Equally, what we try to do is, how do we help people start that conversation? It's not just, oh, you buy a device and in a medical way, of course, you know, it solves the problem, that's fine. But from a intimacy in a relationship way, how do you actually then take that into the bedroom and talk about it?
Oh, that's really interesting. You know, you said earlier, Soum, that the vibration is very good for, you know, any area of the body. So for instance, if I had a sort of shoulder that was slightly, so I could put it on there.
Absolutely. It's exactly the same theory. So the next product we're launching next year is a period pain device, which is again the same vibrations, but in a completely different format. So it's like a little belt, which will be sticky, like a sticky bra, and it will stick to the lower abdomen just below the belly button, and it will have a low power vibration for say 3 hours. And we ran the studies, clinical studies, and it was very effective. So the theory applies to anything, you know, whether it's back pain, pelvic pain, period pain, arousal, erection, all of it.
Wow, you're doing
Wow.
some amazing work, Soum. Thank you.
Thank you, Soum, for everything. What a brilliant conversation, and it's been
is.
really enlightening. And so now I must try my little blue friend and see where. I think I'm going to call him Bluey.
Yes.
It's a great name.
It is. That's
Much
really
better than
good.
Poco.
Yeah, you should give them more names. I think Bluey's a good name for him.
I
It is
think
a
that's a
great
good idea. I think I've got to think about mine actually. But you've taken the best name, Bluey. I'll have to come up with an equally good name.
All right, Soum, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so
Thank
much for
you,
having
Phil.
me.
Thank you.
Lovely
Bye.
to see you, darling. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I was just about to say, I'll tell you how it's worked, but I didn't mean that. What I meant to say is, how everything, how it went. But actually, that was such a good conversation and one that we don't have, do we?
No, and I think,
Everyone's
Dee,
so-
where can everyone get these from? That's what we will need to know.
It's called Mystery Vibe, and I think, as you said, there's lots of different sex toys around, but I think these are very special, actually. And it really has taken off so well, especially in the States. So now they're bringing them over here, and I think, he's at the helm, and he's done a lot of fantastic research, as he said, and I think that's really important.
Now, girls, a very important question to ask all of you.
Yes.
I wonder why he started doing this.
I know. I wanted to ask him, didn't you?
Yes. What do you think, girls?
I don't know.
Anyway, we better go.
Sound.
I know I've got a moaning cat in my ear. It's like having a toddler that never grows up. So yeah, I need to go feed the other cat now. Never ending.
Oh my
Never
God.
ending cycle. Honestly.
Bye. See you
All right,
soon.
darling.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.